everyone, welcome to week 6. Today we are going to explore chapter 3 from the Hammond. This is your brain on culture. This chapter connected the neuroscience, trust, and the cultural responsive teaching. We are moving beyond the theory and into what is actually happening in the brain and what student experience belong or threat in the classroom. Understanding the brain helps us understanding what culturally responsive teaching is not optional. It is neurologically necessary for our students. Let's look at the learning objective. First, understand how culture shapes the brain. Second, explain the role of the trust in the learning. Third, connecting the neuroscience to culturally responsive teaching. And finally, apply relationship-based strategy in your future classroom. Today's key theme is this: culture and the relationship are not abstract. They are directly impact cognition. What is culture? Culture is not just about the food, holiday, or language. Culture is learned and shared. It shapes how we interpret the world, communicate, solve problems, and respond to the authority. In the classroom, culture influences how students participate, how they show respect, how they interpret feedback, what feels safe or unsafe. When a teacher ignores culture, they may unintentionally create misunderstanding or stress. So that's why understanding the different culture that is quite important for the educator. Let's talk about the brain and culture. The brain is the neuroplastic. That means it changes based on the experience. Culturally experience literally wire neural pathway. If a child grows up in a cooperative, storytelling-based culture, their brain might be wired for the relational learning. If they grow up in a higher independent culture, their learning pattern might look different. They might prepare more independent world. Learning is social and relational. That means relations are not separate from the cognition. They shape it. Now, let's talk about the brain threat detection system. There is amygdala in our brain. The amygdala consistently scans for the threat. If students experience a cultural mismatch, for example, they feel misunderstood, they feel stereotyped, they feel excluded in the classroom, the brain might interpret this as danger. When the brain detects a threat, stress hormone increase, and when the stress increases, access to the higher order thinking decrease. This is why psychological safety is essential for learning. Students cannot think deeper when they feel unsafe in the classroom. Now, let's talk about the role of trust. Building a trust relationship with a student and parent or the caregiver is very important for the educator. Remember, trust reduces the stress response. When a student trusts their teacher, their brain shifts out of the throw mode. Trust needs to build through the consistency, respect, listening, and the culture of wellness. When students feel seen and valued, cognitive engagement increases. Students might ask themselves, does this teacher respect me? Does this teacher believe I can succeed? So, Remember, when students trust you, the learning happens. Let's talk about culturally responsive teaching and the brain. Culturally responsive teaching affirms identity. When students see their culture reflected in example, material, and the classroom environment, their brain interprets the environment as safe. Cultural responsive teaching includes using the culturally phenomenal example, building the strong teacher-student relationship, encouraging productive struggle with the support. But remember, productive struggle is important, but only when students feel supported. Now, let's talk more detail about the dependent versus independent learner. Hammond made an important differences between dependent and the independent learner. Dependent learner rely heavily on the teacher's support and the guidance. They often wait for the direction. They might ask, "Is this right?" before moving forward. They might avoid challenging tasks unless the teacher provides constant support. This is not because they are incapable. It is often because they have not yet developed the cognitive tool for the self-regulation. Independent learners, on the other hand, regulate their own learning. They monitor their understanding. They take risks. They use strategy when they get stuck. They proceed through the productive struggle. So now you have a better understanding about the differences between dependent learner and the independent learner. So the key question is, how do we help the student move from dependence to independence? Culturally responsive teaching supports cognitive growth toward independence. This happens through the scaffolding. What does he mean, scaffolding? Scaffolding means we provide temporary support, modeling, sentence starter, structure tool, and a guiding question, and then we remove those support as the student gain confidence and they feel they can do it on their own. We show the student how to sing, not just what to sing, and we practice gradual release of responsibility. For example, the teacher do it as a model, and then teacher and the student do it together. So you work from the I do and move forward to we do, and then you let the student to do it independently. The goal is non-compliance. The goal is cognitive growth. If the student only follow direction, they remain dependent. If they learn how to sing, plan, monitor, and adjust, they become independent learner. That is the brain-based cultural responsive teaching. Now let's talk about instructional strategy. Here are some strategies that align with the neuroscience and the cultural responsive teaching. First, the want-demander stand. Higher expectation combined with a higher support. Second, structural thought and cooperative learning. This support relational cultures. Third, think aloud modeling. Show the student how you think through the problem. Fourth, clear routine and a predictable structure. Predictable reduce cognitive load and stress. Structure builds safety, and remember, safety supports thinking. After reading this chapter, I want you to reflect on these three questions. How does trust affect engagement? How can the teacher reduce cultural threat? What strategy will you apply in your future classroom? These are not theoretical questions, but they are very practical. Try to think about it as a future educator. Before we finish, a quick reminder, continue working on your weight-based research project, and the project is due on Sunday at midnight at 11:59 p.m. Please plan ahead and manage your time wisely.